Ralph, Supra Mahumapelo is sounding quite emboldened, in fact, very sober, but insisting that there needs to be conversation between himself and the rest of the NEC about how they work their way through this. So why do you think he's intentionally framing it like that?
Well, I think that is a victory for him. A faction has actually won a court battle, and that also challenges the legitimacy of the decisions that have been taken by the NEC. And I think that his statement is actually saying to the NEC, do not dare appeal this thing. You don't have a good grounds to stand on this. This requires a political solution. And I think that is what he's inviting them to do, to come up with a political solution to this. Because if they push the legality aspect of this, it is just going to create more and more tension. I mean, it is nearly impossible to just reinstate Supra to the manner in which he were before he was removed. A lot of decisions would have been made since he was removed, since the PC was disbanded. Hence, I think the best way out of this is for ANC, NEC to humble themselves and avoid appealing this thing, because you cannot go further into appeal going into the elections. The best way to demonstrate that indeed there is a commitment for unity within this party, it is actually to try to have a conversation on this, find a way to settle this politically with Mr. Mahumapelo.
And for now, of course, the ANC has said that they are appealing, and in fact, they're going to the Northwest this weekend to meet with the PTT. One of the arguments that Zizi Kodwa is making is the fact that next week would have been the end of the term of the now reinstated PEC. So he feels that perhaps there's a loophole there because their reinstatement basically is moot, as he puts it. It becomes null and void. But Supra Mahumapelo doesn't seem to think that that's the case here.
But this is what makes things worse here. People are looking for loopholes whenever they exist so that they can escape having to deal with the political matter at hand here. It is very disingenuous for the ANC, through their spokesperson, Mr. Kodwa, to insist that the term would have ended. There is a sense of injustice that is being felt by Mr. Mahumapelo here. And the court has actually said to him that you are right. You have not been dealt with properly. Your PEC has not been dealt with properly. And the ANC, PEC, I mean the NEC has to humble itself. For them to keep on looking for the loopholes and to say that the term will have expired anyway, it is the most disingenuous statement in an era within the ANC where mistrust are very high. This issue is about mistrust within the ANC. So the sooner people get to acknowledge their mistakes and understand that they can never resolve this through legalities, through the court processes, they have to have a conversation, the better it is for them.
Were they simply too quick? Should they have listened to Supra Mahumapelo when he said, let's follow process. It's good to want to get rid of people, but don't bypass your own constitution in attempting to do that. And I think also somewhat almost a kind of indictment on President Cyril Ramaphosa, because he's saying that as a leader, he should have been cautious instead of just jumping to legal action. Your analysis of the matter, could this have been handled properly by the NEC and by the leadership of the ANC?
It has always been a political matter. It had little to do with instabilities in Northwest and corruption. Of course, there's been corruption.
Delivery.
There's been corruption in Northwest. There are corruption in all other provinces. Why is it that this kind of changes have not been demanded in other provinces as well? So the issue here is about people within the ANC who think that they are right in the position that they stand, who think that the position that they stand on is morally superior. And I think what went into Northwest was just that indication that people thought their position was morally superior and they could disband that. And one thing they are failing to deal with, and they failed to deal with, was that the push for Supra to go was also the result of a faction in Northwest that actually wanted to push him to go. Rightfully or wrongfully, we don't know, but there was a faction that was behind that. And the NEC, unfortunately, they failed to preside upon this in a manner that one could say retains trust or that unity. They picked a side on the basis that they were right. They might have been acting in good faith, but unfortunately, procedure is not on their side, and they have to acknowledge that.
So if it's about then Mahumapelo serving humble pie, as it were. How much are elections an issue and securing and winning the Northwest a priority for the ANC, for them to be able to come to the table and actually eat and say, well, we were wrong?
They have to acknowledge that they cannot go into the elections with a divided Northwest.
Can they go into the elections and win without Supra Mahumapelo?
The reality is that Supra now, he's being emboldened and he's coming across as someone who got it right from the beginning. Of course, his position was not always morally defensible, no doubt about it. But now I believe that there will be certain branches that will not be wholly willing to campaign alongside the NEC, the ANC NEC. The truth is that it is for the first time, I think, that the ANC is going into this election with Northwest being ailing, incoherent as it is. And if you start adding to other provinces, the picture is actually looking grim. If you start adding KZN as well, that there are problems in KZN, you start adding Eastern Cape, you start setting the precarious power vacuum in the province of Mpumalanga as well, you really cannot add, you don't want to add Northwest to this. The best way, come up with a political solution.
But Ralph, if you're dealing now, if you're saying that this part of the decision that was made on somewhat the basis of ego, because people couldn't admit that their approach to things was wrong, certainly it's not going to be easy for them to go to Supra Mahumapelo and admit that they've committed a mistake. So one of the things they'll do is consider, can we make it through this election without him? And can they?
I don't think they can. I don't think they should try that. The NC strength in the elections is the coherence of its own branches. Other political parties tend to use other avenues. They will hire polling companies, they will hire experts. But within the ANC, if the branches are not in a good shape, if the branches are not pulling together, the party will certainly suffer. That is what they are having in Northwest. They have never faced this risk in Northwest. And, I mean, how big are the egos for them to try to go ahead with this? The best way would be to just eat the humble pie, acknowledge that maybe the party, the NEC did not handle it very well. That is what the court said. And again, the people who are behind this decision are understood to be respecting court processes. And they have to understand that the court said that, no, you were wrong. It means that they have to do something in order to rectify this. Supra is opening his hands and saying that, let us have a conversation. Probably he's aware that this need not come to an end through legality, through litigation. It needs that political solution.
But he's also a politician at the end of the day. And it brings me to my next point. The fact that he is being so open, as it were, especially with somebody who now has an upper hand with the backing of this court finding today. What does he want out of it?
He's claiming the moral ground. You know, the way in which he's opening his arms now, saying that
moral ground is not enough. There must be something else that he's after. What do you think it is?
Well, the thing is that he's standing on a legitimate grounds now. Now he's standing on the legitimate grounds to say that you have paged us. You did not work along. Forget about unity. You could not even stick to the ANC's constitution in expediting what has happened in Northwest. He has been spending a lot of time in KZN. My fear here is that this has got the potential of a domino effect in other provinces. There are pockets of these cases where decisions of the NEC are being challenged. And I think if the ANC does not step up and deal with this, make sure that it takes a different route, different from the litigation route, it will just spread across other provinces. It's not worth it, actually. I mean, the problems of the ANC are not issues of legality. Everyone else knows what the constitution of the ANC requires on this. It is just the politics of it. People need to humble themselves and come up with political solution for a political challenge.
Well, we'll see if that actually happens indeed. Certainly something they need to manage, but too late to nip it in the bud now, because certainly the cat's out the bag completely. Ralph Mateja, they're giving us his take on developments within the governing party, and of course that a court victory for the Northwest, the disbanded Northwest PEC.